It even bleeds a little. You can get it cooked medium, medium rare, or rare if that's your sort of thing. It sizzles the same way and oozes and comes with a little bit of pink in the middle. And it's supposed to be healthier for you. The Impossible Burger, a vegan, plant-based alternative to beef, has taken off wildly since its inception in 2016, and several restaurants are selling the hype. This is the type of Bizarro World bullshit that is going on out there, everybody. So we are going to talk gold. We are going to talk about the markets. Theresa May has resigned, unable to deliver on Brexit. China and the U.S., tensions are rising there. Lil Nas X gets an awesome deal from Wrangler and then immediately gets boycotted from Wrangler loyalists that say he is not a part of the cowboy culture. Lots going on. It's a bizarro world out there, folks. This is episode 20. I am Gerardo Del Real with my co-host, Mr. Nick Hodge. Nick, how are you today?
Shot a turkey in the face this week, Gerardo. Feeling good.
Did it bleed a little?
Let a little. Probably going to sizzle a little.
Is it going to be pink in the middle?
Only if you undercook it.
Is there another way to eat a burger other than medium rare?
Not in my world.
Meatless Mania is real. I know we usually lead with the markets, but I gotta ask you. I'm here in Austin, Texas, and wow, this Meatless Mania thing is really catching on. IPOs. You touched on it a couple of podcasts ago. I didn't know how widespread it was until I saw a commercial here at one of my local restaurants, and I'm amused.
It's everywhere. It's indicative of the times. I have been talking for probably 3 or 4 years now about things that are fake and how many of the things around you are fake. This is an utter and total and complete manifestation of that, where even the meat we are consuming, we are putting in our mouths and chewing is fake. Symptom of the world we live in, and it's not going away. You've seen the Beyond Meat stock has IPO'd and has gone from, I don't even know what it came out IPO'd at, $40 or $50 or $60, and then went to $90 some dollars. I saw a story this week that we're now trying to replace eggs. Bloomberg is pushing the story, and I've seen them tweet it multiple times, which means it's getting a lot of clicks. And that's the other reason you're seeing these stories so much, right? Because it's like shark attacks, right? Or train wrecks. They draw a lot of eyeballs, and so the media outlets, they continually tweet them or run them on the top of the hour or whatever, so you see them more. But no doubt, whether it's the Beyond Meat or the egg replacement thing that I just mentioned, or even a couple of years ago, there was a UN report out, linking meat production to climate change, whether that's the emissions associated with the mechanization of industrialized farming, or the quantification of the cow farts and the methane in those. All this, not all of it, but a lot of it has to do with climate change, and eating meat is so bad for the earth. And I don't know. I don't get riled up about it. I think it's a little crazy. One of the things that's always struck me as funny about vegetarianism and veganism is that they want their food to be meat. It's not like they don't like meat or they disdain meat. It's like, oh, we really want the meat. We want it to sizzle and bleed. It's like, well, just fucking eat meat, you fucks. Anyway,
I was watching.
I like it.
Well, that's Mr. Nick Hodge, everybody. I think there were 4 5-syllable words back to back to back to back. So that's that. He provides the insight and the intellect on this podcast. I obviously provide the silliness and the ranting. I was watching a Joe Rogan comedy stand-up special on Netflix last night with my wife, and he talked about this a little bit, and he talked about somebody that was like hate tweeting him, and one of the hate hashtags was #vegan-cat, and he couldn't resist, so he clicked on it. And it was a story about how people feed their cats nothing but a vegan diet, right? And so he was looking at it, and he said all of these cats looked malnourished. Most of them were laying down and looked sad and had a look of despair in their eyes. If you have a chance to check out the special, it's really well done. I like Joe Rogan's podcast. I'm not as familiar with his stand-up comedy. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And frankly, if you look up #VeganCat, it's pretty hilarious. So yeah, this is this just, it kind of amuses me. The more serious discussion about the climate change aspect of it. Obviously there's some validity there, but that's a deeper conversation that deserves a little bit more time than what we have today. But this is a fad, and this is a trend that's accelerating. It's on the menu of chains like the Cheesecake Factory, Hard Rock Cafe, Red Robin, White Castle, Little Caesars, TGIF, Carl's Jr., Burger King. I mean, all of these chains have an impossible version of a burger on their menu now. So interesting stuff. Let's talk markets, Nick.
No, I'm not done.
No, you're not done. Do you have more 5-syllable words for us?
I don't know, but this is what I want to say is that, this is how far down the rabbit hole we've gone, how turned on its head that logic truly is. And I'll give you a couple more examples this week as the podcast goes on. But just think about this for a second. Open your mouth and grab the two teeth that are on the side, the two pointy ones there. Not the ones in the front, the ones right here on the side, the ones that you evolved hundreds of thousands of years ago to chew meat with.
Hey, you just had me finger my entire mouth, Nick. You got to be more specific from the get-go.
The canines, the two canines.
There you go. I got them.
The vampire teeth.
Yep.
Your body evolved those teeth. It grew those teeth long and sharp because your body needs meat. Your mind needs meat. We co-evolved with the animals we were eating for hundreds of thousands of years. They provided sustenance. They provided calories. They provided shelter in the form of their pelts. They provided tools from their bones. Humans need meat. They need to interact with these animals. We evolved to do so. There's even studies that have shown that our brains, the human brain, didn't fully mature, didn't fully grow into the size that it is now until we started to roast meat on an open fire. And so that's just how far we've gone from straightforward logic and common sense to say that something that we naturally evolved to do is wrong, and that growing peas and pressing them and dyeing them and forming them into the shape of a hamburger is more natural and better for you and the earth.
I think meat must have missed all of the Republican politicians in Alabama that want to tell all the women what to do with their bodies. Must have missed them, because they obviously have not evolved to the point where they have a full capacity to use rational and critical thinking skills. So yeah, it truly is a bizarro world. There's a reason why we call this podcast Bizarro World. And the junior resource space, which is the main theme of our podcast, typically is most definitely a bizarro world. But man, you step outside of that and you look at the forest and you look at the trees, and the whole thing is starting to become one big bizarro world everywhere.
It's crazy. I'm going to give you just one more other example, and then we can go on to other stuff.
I knew this would rile you up. That's why I led with it.
a couple of weeks ago here in Washington State, they passed a law where you could let your body be turned into compost, basically decompose naturally, as opposed to getting buried or cremated. And I didn't talk about it on the podcast. I didn't write about it or anything. I didn't think it was a big deal. I actually think it's a viable option. But as this news story has obviously percolated out of Washington State the past 2 weeks and made its rounds around Reddit and Twitter, etc., I've seen this article pop up here and there because it's different and it has to do with death. And so again, train wreck and eyeballs. And so the story's going around, and it's going around because people are having like a weird reaction to it, like, ooh, that's gross, or ooh, why would you want your body to decompose? And it goes back to the meat thing, man. Like, you think like putting your body in a constructed box of man-made materials is like, that's more natural than just decomposing as we've done for hundreds of thousands of years? Like, I don't understand the logic. I don't understand the infatuation with labeling things as weird or bad or gawking at them when they're in fact the most like natural, straightforward, common sense way to do things. Like, just because we've been burying people for a couple hundred years in boxes, like, doesn't mean that that's the right way, or that it's natural, or that that's what you should do. And so, and it's just one of those logic things, just like a brain exercise, right? Like, think about that. Why is just letting somebody decompose? Why is that unnatural? Why is that bad? Why is that even a contentious issue? Like, people just laid around rotten for hundreds of thousands of years before industrialized society. Like, it's the most natural way your body can go. Like, and so, I don't know. I just see these things in the news and I see people's reaction to them, and I'm like, man, how far from center we have drifted. Like, how far off true north our compass is.
I think the lack, or I should say not the lack, I think the shortened attention spans that society now is predisposed to as a result of technology has really created a situation where we are so historically tone deaf. I mean, we look at things in a prism of days and sometimes just hours. You know, very, very few people think in terms of generations, centuries, millenniums. Like, this is a different, it's a different time for sure. It definitely is. Again, not to keep repeating it, but a bizarro world.
That's right. Okay, next topic.
Let's talk markets. You know, something that's related. Theresa May has resigned as prime minister. This, of course, is a conflict that has been all about Brussels demanding a hard border in Ireland to prevent the loss of taxes on trade. She was not able to deliver on the Brexit promise. It once again speaks to an article that I wrote a few months ago, which was called "The Confidence in Government is Dying." I think that the lack of market reaction speaks to just what a crazy, unstable, nutty time we have, where, you know, the prime minister resigned and the market didn't even blink. Gold didn't move much. It moved earlier in the week on comments from the Fed, and we'll touch on that in just a minute. But yeah, interesting times for sure.
Did she dance out of office the same way she danced across the stage that one day? Do you remember seeing that video?
I do remember. The shimmy was not on full display on the way out as it was on the way. I can't blame her, though. And speaking of the markets, you know, the markets have been kind of up and down, but if you kind of, again, step back and look at the forest, there's not a lot going on. It's volatile one day, and then it kind of goes back and reverts to the mean. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, week after week, right? Where's gold? 1284. You know, where's it been for the past 24 months? Range bound. We did get some comments from the Fed that kind of spoke to what you and I had discussed in the past, saying that, you know, not only can you not worry about a rate hike this year, I don't think that's happening, but I've also gone on record and said you could pretty much anticipate a rate cut before the year is out, being that next year is an election year, and the Fed typically does not like to move things during election season. So the Fed, again, says it's data dependent. It's going to be patient, but you know, there's some data out there that suggests that we're going to get a cut pretty darn soon.
It is, and I'm speaking of the junior resource market in general and the junior gold resource market in particular, really, really, really ugly out there. And not just from a standpoint of equity prices or lack of equity prices, but from a standpoint of, and this is observational. I do observational stuff, Gerardo. I do anecdotal. There's been infighting.
We'll get you a shirt that says that. I do observational. I do it all.
Yeah. No, anecdotal. I wanted to say,
it sounded like I do it all. I was like, hey, I like that. No. Bold, Nick.
No, I certainly don't do it all. I try sometimes. But there has been, and I don't know if you've noticed it, just in the past, I'd say the past week, some infighting on Twitter amongst junior mining diehard bulls and diehard gold bulls that I've known and followed for a long time. They're getting frustrated. They're getting a little chirpy. It's like all the good meat is gone and the hyenas are starting to turn on themselves, right? I'm talking about people that should be cut of the same cloth, that should be cooperating or want wanting gold stocks to go higher. They're fighting amongst themselves at this point over certain stocks or management teams. And to me, that's very, again, from an observational and anecdotal standpoint, that's bottom stuff, right? When everybody is at each other's throat and just ready to pounce, even if they are your colleague or your friend. The second thing, I have three things, sorry. The second observational thing is good news is not getting rewarded at all, like at all. Whether it's, I don't know, take Mux, for example. McEwen Mining this week had 3 news releases on the same day, 2 good results at 2 different projects and declaring commercial production at a third. And the stock was up a little bit that day, but it's still down. Some near a 52-week low. Just not getting any traction. Nobody cares. And then the third thing would be things like I don't want to say the person's name, but long-standing gold conferences hitting me up and saying, "Hey, can you get us some cannabis speakers? Can you get us some cannabis companies to come to our exhibit hall?" Because to me, that says we can't fill the exhibit hall with gold companies. And so all those things anecdotally is like, we've got to be getting close to a bottom, to that capitulation, to that point where, gold becomes a haven again and people want to talk about it and put their capital there again. And all that to say, we're just not there yet. It is dead out there. I'll give you a fourth. Capital is just dry. I tried to raise money for what I thought was a decent copper gold play. And where I could typically raise whatever, a couple $100,000, I think only one funded expression of interest came in for this deal. So it is just dead.
It's interesting. I, being a contrarian by nature, even my patience is being tested, but I have to. I can't help myself. I have to get in the water, get in the mud, and just wrestle, because this is where the money is made, folks. Just earlier today, I participated in a private placement, 5 cents a share, 8-cent warrant for 3 years, 800,000 shares, 800,000 warrants. We'll see in 2 or 3 years' time what that stock certificate and those warrants are worth. I mean, the bottom line is this is where the money is made, folks. You can poo-poo the market all you want, but you're either in this for the 10, 20, 30 baggers or you're not. And if you can't hold on for a couple of years, and I realize it's getting long in the tooth, but if you can't hang on for a couple of years and keep averaging down and adding to that position, then this is not the sector for you. This is a very cyclical sector. This bottoming process has taken longer than I think almost every industry person I speak with. Going back to the 70s, people that were in bull markets in the 70s and bear markets in the 70s, they've talked about how they've never seen a market as bad as this one. So we know what happens on the other side of that. Pick your favorite names, people, whether it's ideas from Mr. Hodge, myself. Pick your favorite newsletter writers. Take 2 or 3 of the best ideas and just add a little bit every month, right? If you're able to. That's what I'm doing. We'll see how that works out.
What's that?
China, the U.S., no de-escalation of tensions. They're escalating. It's manifesting now in increasing rare earth prices. And, largely on the fact that Chinese officials went and made a very public appearance at a rare earth factory in China. China is very calculated. They play the long game. I'm writing something on it for subscribers to Junior Mining Monthly, so I don't want to comment too much before they get that next week. But yeah, critical metals are once again in the news, and this is not something that's going to go away because we need those critical metals to get your favorite iPhone, Samsung phone, laptop, television, electric vehicle, you name it, we need it. And China has the bulk of it. So if you don't have a supply chain outside of China, and nobody does, they have some leverage there. Will they weaponize it? We'll see. But I can tell you that in 2012, the only thing that stopped them from continuing to beat down everybody else was the WTO stepping in. And I'll leave it there. Again, we'll talk about this in another week or so once Junior Mining Monthly subscribers get the issue, and I'll go a little bit more in depth as to the long game on this one and how I think it plays out. But this is pretty significant. The long game is going to lead to pretty drastic changes on a global scale. Thoughts?
Can't we just make some fake rare earths that sizzle and bleed?
They're trying. They don't work as well. Oh, Bitcoin. Talk about fake, whatever you call it, fake hedges, fake currencies, fake whatever. Bitcoin's up. It's back over 8,000 again.
I have to talk about Mr. Dines again. I talked to him this morning, and I will echo the sentiments I said last week that I quasi lifted from him a little bit. And that's, what I kind of just said about gold. We're seeing it start to express itself in Bitcoin a little bit. I said it last week. It's the only reason I can come up with that Bitcoin is going up is anonymous money wanting to get itself into havens a bit early. No way to verify that, of course, but the price is holding right up there at $8,000. And things I read from people smarter than me say we could do another run, maybe not as significant as 2017, but significantly higher prices than $8,000. And so something to watch. I read an article this week about some of the largest bank in the world, Credit Suisse and Barclays, for example, BNY Mellon, all investing together in some blockchain technology for payment settlements. And so that makes it much, much more real. I have to assume that because we don't yet, in the next year or two, we're going to get some sort of ETF or fund for the space and the companies involved, just like has happened over the past 2 or 3 years with the marijuana space. In fact, new marijuana ETFs are still being put together and released. 2 new ones this week, in fact, the first inverse and non-inverse leveraged marijuana ETFs. So still very early in crypto. I think we still have a lot of securitization to happen, a lot of how should I say it? Well, the banks weren't positioned the first time, right? So they wanted to get positioned, and now we can have another run. That's kind of how I'm seeing this.
And, there's a lot of parallels to the cannabis space right now. You're seeing, multi-billion-dollar takeovers left and right. And we saw a similar run, then we saw a similar pullback. And what happened next, exactly what you're talking about is going to happen in the crypto space. Now that it's somewhat legitimized and there's ETFs and the banks can participate, you're getting quite a run there, right? Thoughts there?
No, I think the parallel to marijuana is accurate. And I think that more and more people are hip to Bitcoin. I think that people that missed or weren't in position the first go round are not going to want to miss it this time. And I also think that the trend is your friend. So just like the first time when Bitcoin ran to 20 grand, people see it going up again, and volume and upward prices beget more volume and upward prices. So we'll see what happens.
Interesting. Quick question for you. Were you able to recommend any cannabis speakers for the conference?
I have a short list of, I thought you said company. Sorry. Yeah. Well, I told him they should have Jimmy Mango, obviously, the editor at Outsider Club of Marijuana Manifesto.
The pot prophet.
Sure. Let's call him that. Yeah. The pot prophet. So we'll see if he ends up speaking there or not. And then as an extension of that, I asked him if there were any companies that he thought would want to exhibit or, have a speaking slot at the show.
Excellent. What do you have up your sleeve topic-wise? I stole your thunder with the Meatless Mania. I had to because it resonates so much with me.
You mean for today?
For today, yeah. What do you got?
Oh, I got a couple of things.
Got you riled up.
Yeah, I'm not going to get too riled up, but some informational things, stories I thought were interesting, or sometimes I see stories about something that I've had a long-held belief on that I'm like, oh yeah, I've been thinking about that for a while, and there it is finally showing up in the news. So I got maybe a couple of those today. One is the best if used by dates. You've seen these on your milk and your meat and your cereal, but there's no standard for these. Let me back up. companies don't even have to put this on the product. There's no, in the United States, there's no law or regulation from Congress or the FDA that says companies have to put a sell by date or a use by date on any product except infant formula. So all those dates that you see, the companies are doing that voluntarily, whether it's pork chops or milk or pickles. And so this creates problems. One, what do you think companies do? They shift up the dates so the consumers throw out the product sooner so they can move more product. That's one thing.
Absolutely.
Second thing is it contributes significantly to food waste because people just go by the date. A lot of people I know, and this is sort of the part that I wanted to talk about, because in my house growing up, the date didn't matter.
It didn't matter in my house either, mostly because we didn't have a lot of money, and you better eat.
That's exactly
we
right.
Don't waste
You
food
better
in our
eat.
House.
That's right. Unless that milk is curdled, it's going on the cereal. So
Yes,
that's what I wanted to talk about, right? In my house, the answer was the nose knows. So you smelled it, right? If the meat's bad, your body knows. Because why? Because we evolved to eat meat for hundreds of thousands of years, and your body knows whether it should eat the meat or not.
Yep.
Fucking fake meat people.
Fucking fake meat people is right, literally. Right.
So, I don't really have a point here other than to say your nose knows. So, if your milk says, it expires May 23rd, but it doesn't smell sour or curdled, your milk is fine. Drink the milk, put it in your coffee, put it on your cereal until it smells sour. That's mainly the thing I wanted to say is smell your food, people. Don't just throw it away. But the secondary thing is I couldn't believe that there was no universal standard or law. So, and I'll put the link up. The FDA is now trying to get all the food companies to adopt a standard, right? They want to use the language best if used by, as opposed to sell by or consume by or whatever. So that was the catalyst that got me to talk about this. The FDA is trying to do something about it, mainly because of the food waste. But it's just something that in my house, we never did the date. And I just wanted to talk about that for 1 second.
Agreed. No. What else has got you riled up this week? You're not really that riled up. I think the meat thing is what got it out of you.
Yeah, I got it out. I said I wasn't that riled up. I saw last week this new Uber button. So when you call an Uber, you put in your location and what sort of Uber you want. But now there's another option. It's going to be, do you want to talk to the driver or not? So you can like toggle the switch if you want to talk to the driver or not. And I just thought that was weird, man. Like, why can't you just tell the driver if you want to talk to him or not? Like, it just, to me, it was so indicative of this digital culture we have where we're always looking down at our phones that we're like, and you said it earlier about the attention span and stuff. It's like we're so far down that I call it a rabbit hole again, that we can't even look up from our phones to tell the driver if we want to talk to him or not. We got to have a digital button to say if we want to talk to a human. I thought that was pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, I do like the button and the new option where you can choose a female driver if you'd like. Obviously, I live here in Austin, and there's a large student population here, and it's it's known as a party town. It's known as a town that's got some great higher education options and an excellent economy. But I can tell you, I have nieces and my wife and my sister, and lots of family that comes and visits. And when I'm not able to give them a ride, or they're not driving, or they don't feel like driving, I love that they'll now have the option to select a female driver, right? Just because the fact is, the sexual assaults here tend to happen, mostly inflicted by men on women. So I thought that was good.
I hope they talk to them.
I hope they talk to them as well. Oh, something that got me riled up and made me smile all in the same day, which just fucking speaks to our society, right? Robert Smith. Robert Smith is someone who has a home here in Austin. I believe he's worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 billion. This gentleman was he was addressing Morehouse graduates, and, he pledged to pay off all of the graduates' student loans, challenge the alumni next year to, do something that's comparable, and then challenge the students whose student loans were being paid off to go out there and pay it forward in the world. And I sat there and said, bravo. That's a capitalist that's made good money, that's now giving back privately through a family grant, and giving these kids a great head start. So of course, immediately, right? Somebody's got to take the other side. And so what the fuck is wrong with society? You know, sometimes I think I'm going to quit interacting as much on Twitter other than just posting what I believe, and then that's going to be it. Because I got to believe...
Ding, ding, ding. I want to talk about it.
Good. Because I believe that, you know, most of the stuff on Twitter has to be bots. There's no way that this is real. I had someone on there on Twitter say, yeah, if Robert Smith is African-American, not that it matters, but it mattered to this person who... If it was a real person, was also African-American. And the first thing she did was attack the fact that he's married to an ex-Playboy bunny and that she's not African-American. And the comment was, if Robert Smith really cared about African-Americans, he wouldn't be dating and marrying outside of blah, 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 which is racist as all fuck, right? Racist is racist.
Yep.
I hate racists. I don't care what kind of racist you are. Don't like you. Stay the fuck away. Kick rocks. So kudos to Robert Smith. A big fuck you to all the people that, you know, criticized him for dating outside of his race or marrying a much younger woman. You know what? When you work and you work hard and you build your wealth up, we can have arguments about how he built his wealth up. You know, we could disagree on that, about how ethical that is. But you get to decide who you want to marry, who you want to sleep with, how you want to live your life, and who you want to give your money to. That's part of the American dream. So to everybody that criticized Mr. Smith, look in the mirror, man. Get out there, be productive. Go do something with your life. Go, you know, as Mr. Smith encouraged everyone to do, pay it forward. Do something good. Spread some joy. Love yourself more. You got to be a real hater to go after Mr. Smith after paying off all of the student debt. I mean, you know, the student debt was rumored to be somewhere upwards of anywhere between $10 and $40 million. Come on, man.
You want my thoughts?
Yep.
I saw some of the same things as you, not the tweet that you mentioned, but I'm going to read one right here from, again, a young black woman that says, a billionaire giving money to college graduates is not generous. It's the bare minimum of what the bourgeoisie should be doing to distribute their wealth. And then, of course, this woman was absolutely abused by capitalists on Twitter. And it's including, I'll read you this response right here. This is one of the best responses. There's always that one asshole that has to talk trash about incredibly generous and life-changing gifts that didn't have to be given. The ironic thing is that if this individual would ever do anything remotely similar in the same opportunity, this person wouldn't do the same thing if they had the opportunity, is what this guy's saying. And it's like you said, man, like, yeah, get a life, get out there and do something. This guy's a billionaire wiping out, like you just said, $40 million in debt. And we want to get on Twitter and criticize him about it. And so I didn't want to talk about, you know, this story in particular, but I did have a shower thought this week about Twitter. And it's been about 7 years since I erased my Facebook account. And you know what? Over the past couple of weeks, I've been thinking that some of the same reasons I deleted my Facebook account are certainly creeping into Twitter. And so I'm with you on either spending less time or perhaps even deactivating for a while, because if I look at a pro con or a benefits analysis, it's currently weighted not in favor of you know, being on the platform, because like you say, it's just it's vitriolic and it's spiteful, and I think a lot of it is bots and bought and paid for traffic. And if you get outside of Twitter for a little bit, you feel a little better and your blood pressure is a little lower.
Studies have actually shown that the less social media you use, the happier you tend to be. And, you know, I got into the I'm not with the racist remarks or the racist attitudes, regardless of who's doing it. So, you know, I want to talk about Lil Nas X again. We had talked about his single Old Town Road. We had talked about how the Country Music Awards, the Country Music Awards section of the Billboard Awards had decided that it wasn't country enough. Billy Ray Cyrus said, bullshit. That song slaps. His words, not mine. He got on there. They released this. That's what he said. He said, I heard it, and that song slaps, and I wanted to be on it.
That's what the kids are saying. He got that from Miley.
He got that from Miley all day long, right? And so he got on there. The music video came out a week or so ago. Beautifully done music video. One of the better ones I've seen in a long time. And I don't watch a lot of music videos, but man, that one was so well done. So, you know, this kid's selling out shows all over the country. He's being embraced. Wrangler came up and decided, let's do a limited edition Lil Nas X jean line. So what happens immediately? And I'm going to call this one what this one is. This one was straight up racist. A bunch of people, mostly Caucasian, 90-something% Caucasian, decide to get together and say, we're going to boycott Wrangler. And the reason that we're going to boycott Wrangler is that Wrangler has now tried to conform to people that are not loyal to our roots. What a bunch of sellouts. I'm reading now a tweet. Keep taking the cowboy out of country. The cowboy spirit is nothing to be made fun of. So on and so on and so on. And there was a lot of very nasty stuff. And again, maybe most of it is bots, right? I mean, I walk around every day and, you know, with the exception of maybe one or two incidents, I haven't had a lot of racist experiences out here in Texas. For the most part, everybody wants upward mobility. They want the kids to have an opportunity. They want to work hard. They want to be well compensated. They want a good time. They want to have a good time, and they want government to stay out of their way. All things that I think everybody can agree on. But it was really nasty, the kind of response that he received. One, because it's such a nice, fun song, frankly. It's a good-spirited song, right? How can you not smile at, you know, the lyrics? They're silly. It's a funny song. But two, because historically about a quarter of the Cowboys were black. So who the fuck are you to, like, just say, hey, you know, being a cowboy is this. And if you really want to take it back, me being, you know, of Mexican ethnicity and being a first-generation American, a lot of the original cowboys are Mexican. If you want to go back, nobody's got a monopoly on the cowboy. Nobody has nobody trademarked that. A cowboy and a cowgirl don't look a certain way. So yeah, fuck those people too.
Well, they're bigots, and let me tell you why. Because it's because of his name. Let me tell you about these white trash country folks. I know them well. It's because his name
Nick.
It's because his name is Lil Nas X, and let me tell you why. Because we already have
the X gets him,
and the Lil and the Nas.
I like the X part that pisses them off because Malcolm X is one of my heroes. So yeah, I like that part bothers them.
It's because we already have black cowboys in country music, and nobody has a problem with them because they have the proper names. Let me tell you about them. One is in the band of John Rich and the band Big and Rich that we have talked about on this podcast before because of a company called Eastside Distilling that I write about and the whiskey called Redneck Riviera that John Rich is promoting. So John Rich and Big Kenny are platinum selling country artists, and together they have deemed themselves the country music mafia. And in the country music mafia, they have other artists, of course, a couple female artists, another couple male artists, but they also have a black artist. His name is Cowboy Troy.
Cowboy Troy slaps.
He slaps.
Yes.
He raps on their albums. He doesn't even sing country music. He raps. Have you ever heard any of this controversy about Cowboy Troy?
No, because it's brought to you by Big and Rich. It's okay.
And his name isn't Lil Troy X.
Correct.
And so let me tell you about another one. We got this guy. You remember Hootie and the Blowfish?
I remember the lead singer. Yeah.
I only want to be with you. That guy. So after Hootie and the Blowfish were done, and they couldn't sell any more albums, he reinvented himself, not as Hootie, but as Darius Rucker. Put on a cowboy hat and has become a very well-selling country music artist. You hear any of this uproar about Darius Rucker?
Nope.
Because his name's not Lil DX.
Lil DX.
And so it's pure bigotry. It's pure bigotry.
It is, and I'm hesitant to call it that because I like calling people out when it's merit-based. This is absolutely merit-based. I hesitate a lot when I see something that I think may be bigoted and may be racist. And I try to find all angles. Like, is it, is it economically driven? Is it something where people are just mad that it's affecting their pocketbooks? Is this something that, is it government overreach that really is the issue, and it's not a race thing, but it affects a certain race disproportionately? I really do try to make sure that I go through all those filters because I want it to be effective when I say that's bullshit and that's racist. This is clear, man. This is clear as all day. And good for the kid for having the #1 song in America for over a month now and getting to tour. And good to John Rich and Billy Ray Cyrus and Keith Urban, an Australian adopted cowboy into country music, for standing up for this kid and saying, let the people decide.
I only want one cowboys.
I love it. The disruption of death. I think you touched on that a little bit earlier. Yes?
Yeah, we don't have to cover it again. If you have any investments in that space, because it's a good space to be in. Everybody dies, Gerardo, and so you can get in these LPs, and they pay good dividends, and they own cremation houses and funeral homes and graveyards. But the industry is about to be disrupted. So I forget the numbers off the top of my head. I'm going to try to make them up real quick. I think currently it's at about 50-50 cremation burial. It used to be like 80-20 burial cremation. So cremation is fast catching up, and it's going to be inverted in like the next 20 years. So we'll be at like 80% cremation and alternatives and like 20% burial. So those quote unquote, safe investments might be dead in the water.
Dun, dun, dun. Well done, Mr. Hodge. He does do everything. The media. Let's talk about the media. We touched on it a little bit here with Twitter. We talked about that. Sides are being chosen. What does that mean?
Yeah. What did I want to talk about with the sides being chosen? Here's what I mean. We had a couple of weeks ago some platforms banning certain voices in the media, banning them from their platform, whether that's Twitter or Instagram. And so that's private companies jumping into the free speech debate, silencing certain voices over others and choosing sides in that respect. I'm just going to fire out a bunch of examples. This week I saw, did you see the Oreo flub with Ben Carson where he misheard REO and everybody thought that, he's dumb fuck and everybody sent him Oreos. They just completely blew that out of the water.
I thought it was hilarious, and I don't think he misheard. I think he had no idea what it meant. He actually said Oreo. You mean Oreo? No, sir, not the cookies. Oreo. And then he got a chance. He did get a chance. Listen, he was getting grilled, but she actually asked him, do you know what the O means? And he did not know what it meant. So in fairness, I thought it was funny because he really didn't know what it meant. Not so funny is that he's the head of that department.
Well, and also not so funny, at least for me, is that Twitter made it like I got like a special notification, like breaking news about it from Twitter. And the only reason they do that is because they want to poke fun at the Republican administration, right? I mean, I don't get breaking news for whatever, dead kids in, I don't know, Israel or Gaza or whatever, but I get a fucking breaking news push notification for the housing guy mishearing Oreo. Come on, you fucks. What side are you on? I mean, they're clearly just showing what side they're on, right? I mean, that wasn't like a news story that needed to have a push notification for, right? And so that's just one example. I said I was going to fire out a bunch. Like, you did that for political reasons. There's no doubt in my mind.
Absolutely agree. And we should be getting push notifications, all jokes aside, on what's going on in Syria and what's going on in Venezuela, because that's the world making me think the worst about humanity. The fact that the lack of empathy, the lack of care, the lack of any kind of response, even a discussion is it's sad. But I digress.
And then the last example, just this morning I woke up and I spent some money on Google advertising so I could email the updated policies. And I don't know if you saw this week.
Yep.
But Justin Trudeau was saying that they're passing this new law to combat fake news, especially because they got a Canadian election cycle coming up. And so Google is kowtowing to this Canadian law and not letting you run advertisements that include the names of currently elected officials. So you can't run political advertising on Google pay-per-click. I mean, basically they're silencing opposition, right? I mean, it's not about fake news. It's about
anybody who's not elected news.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And so what I meant by the media and sides are being chosen is exactly that. These media companies aren't neutral, folks. They're owned by people that have political leanings, and they're increasingly, again, whether it's whatever, Twitter or Facebook or, pick your platform, Google in this case, they're exerting their influence for political means. And I'm not here to have a debate about whether that's right or wrong. It's their companies, although some of them are shareholder owned. Again, that's not the debate I want to have here. That's not the talk I want to have. I just want to say, know that, because it's happening.
Be aware, people. Can we talk about that beautiful bird that you shot?
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, let's talk about the bird. So
this is a long time coming, everybody. This is a big deal amongst Mr. Nick Hodge insiders. This has been a point of contention for years now. Nick has been hot on the trail of this flock. Is it a flock of turkeys? I'm not a hunter, so I don't know what you call a bunch of turkeys. What do you call them?
There's a flock they're in flocks in the winter and then they break up in the spring. But yeah, they're flocks.
There you go. So Nick has been hot on the heels of this flock of turkeys, and hey, they've been outsmarting Mr. Hodge, an accomplished hunter and marksman. But Mr. Hodge has seen his day. Talk about it, Nick.
Yeah, so I grew up in Maryland on the East Coast hunting East Coast turkeys, and there's a difference in turkeys around the country. There's not a bunch, but maybe 4 or 5 subspecies of turkeys on the East Coast. They're called Easterns. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Down where you are, Gerardo, you guys have Rio Grande's turkeys, and up where I am, we have turkeys called Merriam's turkeys. In Arizona, there's a Gould's turkey, and in Florida, there's an Osceola turkey. And I'm getting a bit off track, but
no, we love the facts. Facts are good.
The trophy in turkey hunting is to get a slam, is to shoot one bird from each of those subspecies in the country. And I've got my Eastern, and 2 years ago, I moved to Washington where we have the Merriams, and I've been trying to get a Merriam's. And I see turkeys on my property. I see them in the winter. And they're big flocks, and then they break up. The big males and the small males split up in the spring as they get ready to compete for breeding rights in the females.
This is like the infinity stones of turkeys. Sorry to interrupt. That's where my brain went.
I don't know what that is, but I'll keep going.
Yeah. So, anyway, people will know.
I got it.
Yes.
I got it. That's right. Collect all 5, like a Happy Meal prize.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. So, I've had Merriams around, and I've tried to kill them. I got my different decoys that have the different color patterns. And I've been doing the same tactics that I've been using for Easterns. I go out there before the sun comes up, 4:00 in the morning. I get myself hidden. I put out my decoys, and then when I hear the first gobble, because the turkeys gobble in the morning before they fly down out of the trees and start doing their stuff for the day. And when I hear the first gobble, I start clucking. I got a little mouth call, or you can have a hand call if you want. There's different kinds, but you start clucking to them, right? Like, come here, big boy, come on over, see what I'm over here about. Like, come and get me. And then the turkey typically comes, and you get your turkey or whatever. But for the past 2 years, I haven't been able to call in a turkey. I can get them to call back to me. I can have what seems like a conversation with a turkey from 200 or 300 or 400 yards away, but I can't get them to close the distance to come into me. And I can't go to them because they're on somebody else's property. And so I can't chase them and trespass to go do that.
And then you might become the turkey.
Exactly right.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Exactly right. Plus, it's a whole ethical thing. You don't go on somebody's property without permission, etc.
That's right.
So I was getting frustrated. Season's coming to an end here this month, and I was telling my wife, I was like, I'm gonna go out with a professional hunter and see what the deal is. So I did that this week. We were out on a 5,000-acre ranch. It was beautiful. I met him at 3:45 in the morning. We drove out to the ranch. We hiked a half mile. We got hidden, and I got an education, which is really what I want to talk about. So the reason I did this is, yes, I wanted to shoot a bird, but even more importantly than wanting to shoot a bird is I wanted to learn what the fuck I was doing wrong, right? Like, because I know how to shoot turkeys. I've shot turkeys before. Why is this Merriam's guy outsmarting me? And so I got an education. And the first thing I learned was, not really important to this podcast, but you should not call when that first gobble goes off and it's still dark for the Merriams. You need to wait until it's fully light and the birds have come out of the trees, because if you hear that gobble but he's still in the tree, he hasn't come down like from sleeping for the night, and you sound off as a hen, I don't know why, but the turkey knows that you're an imposter.
Bullshit, right?
That's right. He's
Turkey
like, this motherfucker.
bullshit.
He shouldn't be calling yet. It's not right. So that was the main thing. I was calling probably 30 minutes too early and sort of blowing up my spot, to put it in colloquial terms. I was blowing my spot up, Gerardo.
Half an hour can do that to you.
The second thing was, I was putting out two decoys. I was putting out a hen and a young male decoy. And the idea is that the old male sees the female, this is just like humans, sees the female with the young male. And he's like, fuck that. I'm going to go kick his ass and take her because I'm bigger.
That's right.
And apparently at this stage in the season in May, as opposed to April, I didn't get to hunt in April because I had a baby. You shouldn't do that, because the old Tom, they call the old ones Toms, at this late in the season, has already gotten in probably 4 or 5 or 6 fights, and has probably been ganged up on by 2 or 3 younger males at a time. And he's thinking to himself, nah, I already fucked a few females. I ain't trying to get another fight this late in the game. So if he sees her hanging out with a young male, he might just be like, nah, it's not worth the trouble. It's too late in the breeding season or whatever. So those were the two things I was doing wrong: calling too early, having out a young male decoy. And so for me, and I'm going to get to why this is important in a second, it was totally worth not only the money, but in hunting. And of course, it's a male-dominated sport, that's sacrificing the pride, right? To say I couldn't do this on my own. I had to go get some information from somebody that knew more than I did, right? And that's not a bad thing, because why? Because first of all, I got my turkey. He did all the things that I just said you should do, and he had turkeys on me. 45 minutes after the sun was up, we had 12 turkeys 20 yards standing in front of us, and just from this gentleman calling him in. So a great education, and I got my turkeys. So I got the memories, I got an education, and now I can have a better advantage going forward doing it myself. And some of you may need the same assistance and education and insights in investing.
I love it. Podcast wisdom for you all out there. Shoot your shot wisely, youngins.
There you go.
I like it. Well, that's as positive a story to end with as I think it gets. You learn something. You put ego aside. You're a smarter human being. You're a better fed human being. You conquered your challenge. It's a hell of a note to end on, Mr. Hodge.
Well, we try to serve up good content.
I like it. So for the movie geeks amongst us, like myself, my happy story for the week is myself and my nieces and my nephew and my kids, my wife, mother-in-law, all of us went and saw Aladdin. This was a big deal to me because I love the original, and I went in there with a very critical eye, and I gotta say, they did a damn good job with that movie. So for all of you purists like myself, give it a go. It's worth $10 or $15 or whatever the heck movies cost nowadays. It was well done.
Just bring your own snacks, right? That's how you save the money, I hear.
Bring your own whatever you want to have during the movie, right?
Okay, we'll leave it there.
Good stuff, everybody. Nick, anything else you'd like to add? I'm not gonna do a stock of the week this week. I'm gonna leave it alone. It's Memorial Day for real this time.
That's what I was gonna say. We were so excited for a 3-day weekend and to say thank you for your service that we jumped the gun on Memorial Day, but this this week is really Memorial Day, so thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service, and we really should say it every day. We should be thankful every day. I talked about, all the stuff going on around the world, and, we joke a lot here on this podcast, but, to everybody that served, all the families that serve right alongside and make all the sacrifices, it's the reason we're able to have the freedoms to talk shit about all the stuff that we talk shit about, and it's deeply appreciated, everybody.
That's right.
That's it, everybody. Have a great week. Hope you enjoyed the holiday weekend. Episode 20, Bizarro World. Have a great one.
Hope your fake meat sizzles on the grill.
It might even be a little pink in the middle.